everyone, my name is Amber, welcome back to my channel. I am back with another freaking book haul because I went charity book shopping again and I found some really good deals. I'm really happy with myself. I am very pleased, but I do have a lot more books to show you. My TBR is kind of balanced out because I read a lot of books in September, so I'm not too annoyed with my book purchases. I just wish I could read faster than I actually do. So I don't really know where to start with these. I have two massive piles of books, so I'll just start with the one that I'm currently reading because that makes the most sense to me. I bought the Atlas 6. I actually do have this one on NetGalley and I requested it quite a while ago and I was accepted, but I was really struggling with ebooks at that point. If you have been following my channel for a while, you know that I've been in an ebook slump for the entire year, it seems. So I decided to go ahead and buy a physical copy because I had a feeling that I would enjoy it. I'm currently 100 pages in and I am recording this video in September, so you may see this in my September wrap up if I finish it this week. This is, I guess, an adult fantasy book of a sort. I'm not entirely sure what the overall plot is, but so far we have met 6 characters who are the Atlas 6. They're invited to join this program by a guy called Atlas Blakely. Note that the author's name is Olivia Blake, which made me laugh. And they're invited to join a secret society because they are the best in their field and they all have some super special powers. One can read thoughts and emotions, another can manipulate people into doing whatever he wants, another 2 can manipulate matter. It's very interesting. I love books about people with kind of superpowers, and that's basically what this is. I have seen this likened or labelled as dark academia. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I'm looking forward to continuing and hopefully I will have read this by the time this video actually goes up. I also got another book that I have already read, and that is Kingdom of the Cursed. This is the sequel to Kingdom of the Wicked. I really enjoyed Kingdom of the Wicked, but Kingdom of the Cursed was not so great. I found this very middle of the road, mediocre. It definitely gets more sexy than the first book is, but I don't think the plot gets any sort of like, it doesn't really go deeper and it's not much more intricate. So this very much felt like a filler book where the author wanted to make the jump from YA in the first book to adult in the third book, needed something to sort of bridge that gap. So I wasn't a massive fan. I do talk about it more in my September wrap up because I read it in September. I also won a copy of Dream On Twitter. I've already read this one. It's by Angie Hockman, who writes adult romance, and this one was adorable. I didn't like it as much as I liked Shipped, her first book, which I have somewhere over here, but this was very good as well. This is about a woman called Cass who gets into an accident and loses her memory, and she wakes up from a coma convinced that she is dating a guy called Devin, except she's not. Her family have no idea who this Devin guy is. She's definitely not dating him, and then she bumps into Devin in a flower shop and he is a real person and she has to figure out how she knew him before, if she even did, or if she's sort of like some sort of psychic and magically knows who Devin is. I really enjoyed this one. I love the mystery surrounding her memory loss and who Devin was. The romance was adorable. I can't talk about the romance at all without spoiling anything because of the whole Devin mystery, but the romance is really cute. I introduced a book swap at work because I have a lot of books to unhaul. One of my co-workers donated a book to this book swap and it was Honey Girl. This is one that I've had my eye on for quite a while because I was really interested in reading it because it's a debut and I like to support debut authors, but the reviews weren't very good. So I didn't pick it up or buy it myself, but because it was on the book swap I thought it was a really good chance or opportunity for me to see how it is. This is about a woman who has just completed her PhD and she goes on a trip to Las Vegas. And then she gets married to a woman that she doesn't know. So it's a queer contemporary. I can't remember why the reviews for this one were so mixed. I can't remember if it was kind of boring or if the main character was annoying or any of that. But I'm very curious to find out what I think of it, and I might try to read this. I don't know, I feel like I really need like a contemporary romance or literary fiction right now because I've been reading a lot of horror and thrillers as well actually. I also purchased Light from Uncommon Stars. This one is a sci-fi book. I have no idea what it's about, but we were reading it for the Space Science Book Club and I didn't get around to it because I am useless and I was really distracted. I did start it, but my issue with this one was the font. I really struggled to read this kind of font. I don't know why, so that was really annoying. But my friend Angela really enjoyed this book, so I'm looking forward to giving it a go when I'm in the mood for some sci-fi. It apparently makes everyone crave donuts, so I'm going to have some donuts at hand when I do get to this one. Because I went charity book shopping in my lunch break one day, I picked up A Little Life. This is one that I've had my eye on for a while because it's apparently the the saddest book ever, and I have been wanting to pick it up, but I didn't really want to pay full price for it just because I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. So I wanted to wait until I found it in a charity shop, and I did. I found it for £1, which is probably about $1. Yeah, I have no idea what this is about. I think it's following a gay man's life, and it gets really sad, and my theory is that he dies at the end, but I don't know. Apparently it's very traumatic, and I'm willing to try it, see what I think of it, but I don't know if I'm going to love it, but I will give it a good go. I also found a really exciting book that you will have seen on my October TBR. That is Hide. This one is by Kirsten White, who I don't really have good experiences with as an author, but I found this book for £2, and you might be aware that this is basically a brand new hardcover. It came out very, very recently, and it should have been £15 in the UK, but I got it for £2, which is a fantastic deal. It's got a map in the front, which is very exciting. It's a horror book about people who are stuck in an amusement park for the night or for a week or something, and they have to compete to win something. But I'm hoping to read it in October because it does sound good. I just don't know if I'm going to love it because I don't love Kirsten White's writing. This next one is kind of random, or it might seem random to you. I bought Solo, which is the story of an African wild dog. So the story behind this one is that I went to a kind of jumble sale, which is I guess like a yard sale at my old primary school when I was about 7 I think, and this book was there, and I remember picking it up and reading it, and I was obsessed. I reread it over and over again because it is literally what the tagline says, the story of this African wild dog who is like an orphaned puppy. It's a true story as well, I think, and apparently there has been a film made of Solo's life, and I think this is one of the books that got me into A, travel, B, languages, and C, animals. I mean, I've always loved animals, but this kind of cemented it, and yeah, I just remember loving this. It's basically like this, literally the biography of this wild dog. I remember it being a lot longer, but it's actually only about 125 pages. What's really interesting here is that back in the day when this was released in the UK, it was 65p. Here's the conversion for you. So I would like to reread this in the future, but if I don't, then I've just got it for sentimental value, really. I'm just really glad I was able to find it hand. Also in the charity shop I found this non-fiction book called Forensics, The Anatomy of Crime. I was again shocked to find this because it's a very new edition and it should have been £19, so I feel like I got a really good deal out of this one. I'm going to read this when I'm in the mood for some non-fiction, I suppose. I'm just glad that I've got it on my shelf and it's going to look really cool. I also picked up a couple of thrillers that I found for £1 each. The first one is The Family Next Door. This one is by Sally Hepworth, whose writing I do enjoy. I read a book by her recently called The Good Sister, which I loved, and then I tried reading another book by her which wasn't as great. So I'm actually thinking about reading all of her books and trying to figure out which one is best. So that's why I got my hands on this one. I'm going to hopefully read it in October. I also picked up Such a Quiet Place by Miranda, who I also read a book from recently, and I gave it 5 stars. I've got a review for that one on my channel. This one is a domestic thriller of some sort. I don't read the synopses for thrillers, which is why this is very vague. I also found I Am Malala? I don't know how to pronounce her name, I'm sorry, I should have looked that up. Which is a biography of a young girl who was living in Pakistan, and the Taliban came about and shot her because she was fighting for the right for her to be educated. I've seen her around because she ended up sort of being an activist and talking at the United Nations and things, and she won the Nobel Peace Prize as well. So I know who she is, kind of, but I don't actually know her story. So I am looking forward to reading this one. I'm going to read it by the end of the year because it's very, very intriguing to me. I'm very, very curious to see kind of where she came from, I suppose. I also picked up The Paper Palace, which I think is literary fiction of some sort. I'm going to be honest, I don't know loads about it. I've just had it on my wish list for ages and I was really pleased to find it. The person who runs the charity shop is a book specific charity shop, and she said as soon as this book comes in and is donated, it flies off the shelves. So everyone seems to be reading it. I think Reese Witherspoon blurbed it, which is probably why it's had a lot of popularity. But yeah, I have no idea what this is about. I also picked up a copy of a book I've already read, and that was The Death of Mrs. Westaway. This is my 3rd favourite Ruth Ware book, I would say, probably. And this is, like I said, one that I've already read and I wanted to own and add to my Ruth Ware collection because it is one that I like, and I do want to reread this sometime soon because it was really good. So this is about a woman called Harriet, I think, who inherits a bunch of money from Mrs. Westaway's estate, except she knows that this woman isn't actually her grandma because she knows her grandparents, and she kind of wants to figure out why she's getting this money, if she's been given it by accident or if something's gone wrong. So it's kind of all about family secrets and things, which I really, really enjoy in my thrillers. I also picked up The Pariah by Bryan. I own another of his books called Blood Song. Apparently that book is very, very good, but the trilogy goes downhill. But this series is so much better. So I honestly have no idea what it's about because there's nothing on the back to describe it, which is really, really annoying. But I found it for £1 and it's basically brand new. And so if I don't read it soon, maybe my partner will. I also picked up a few books from the library recently. First one is Foundry Side, which is one that I'm trying to read in September, but I don't know if I will actually get to. So if I don't get to it in September, I will be reading it in October. My friends will really enjoy this one. I don't actually know much about it other than it's about an escaped slave and it's either like sci-fi, fantasy or steampunk. I'm not entirely sure, but it's one that I want to try and read soon because I'm meant to be reading it as part of a read-along, the entire trilogy, but I haven't even read the first book yet, so I need to get a move on. I also picked up I Shot the Devil, which I read recently, and I speak about it more again in my September wrap-up. This one is a mystery thriller, which I gave 4 stars. It's not the best thing out there, it's not the most memorable, but it was very, very enjoyable to read, so I'm glad that I picked it up. I picked up One of the Girls by Lucy Clark, who wrote The Castaways, which I did enjoy. This is another one that's set on an island, this time in Greece, and there's a killer on the island. That's all I know, that's all I need to know. I'm looking forward to reading it. And I also picked up A Marvellous Light, and getting this book was an ordeal. I told my Booktube friends about how hard this was to get hold of. My library system has a combination of county-run libraries and volunteer-run libraries, and they're all within the same system so they can swap books. But some of the volunteer ones you can't reserve donations, which this is, so we had to go to the town or village where this book was and pick it up from there and hope that no one else would pick it up before we got there, because I want to read this one for recaptains because I need to recap it before the second book comes out, I think in November. I don't know what this one is about at all. I think it's like historical fiction with 2 gay men. I think there's some magic in there as well. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm hoping to read this at the beginning of October, so by the time you're watching this I might have already read it. Okay, we only have a handful more to go. The first 2 I got as part of a project that I want to do because they have basically an identical name. So I have Daughter of Sparta and Daughters of Sparta. This is a YA historical fiction book. The tagline says that she was born an outsider, raised by a Spartan and destined by the gods, and the sequel to this came out recently, so I do need to recap it for recaptains. I don't know loads about it, and I'm fine with that. I think this is going to be a fun one to read. And Daughters of Sparta is a retelling. I don't know who about. Helen, I imagine. Yeah, the 2 princesses of Sparta. So I'm looking forward to reading these 2 together in a vlog and discussing my experience. It was just kind of a fun vlog idea, and I've been wanting to read both the books for quite a while, so it made sense to match them up. I also picked up Hollow Empire for £1. It's the sequel to City of Lies, which I haven't read yet, but I'm hoping to by the end of September. So as you're watching this, you'll probably know whether or not I even started the book. But yeah, this is the second book in a fantasy series. Essay Track Butty loved it. The first book is about a poison taster, I believe, for the royal family, and then I don't know anything else. So I also picked up The Rearranged Life of Una Lockhart, and this has a different cover in the US. This one is one that I'm again hoping to read soon because I think it's the kind of thing I want to fit in amongst like a bunch of thrillers and fantasy books. So it's about Una, who celebrates her 19th birthday, and then she keeps going backwards and forwards in time, so her life is like rearranged. I think in the US it's called like Una Out of Order or something. I really like time travel novels, so I think I will enjoy this, and now I need to speed up because my battery is running out. That's just great. I also picked up 2 Frederick Bachmann books because I really enjoyed a couple of his other ones, and I found Brit Marie Was Here and A Man Called Ove, something like that. So I'm looking forward to reading those, and I'm sorry I have to stop this video now because I haven't recharged another battery. So thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you've read any of these, which ones I should prioritise. Hopefully my TBR isn't too horrendous, but we'll talk about that in another video.